So just yesterday, a pretty big trade happened where the Atlanta Hawks traded Cam Reddish, who was their past lottery pick from a few years ago, to the New York Knicks in exchange for a first-round pick, which is honestly just very surprising. I didn't think they would actually trade Cam Reddish. I heard some of the rumors, but I didn't think it would actually happen. This is actually a pretty big move since Reddish is a guy who a lot of people, including myself, view as a guy with a lot of potential. And in my opinion, I feel like the Atlanta Hawks got flat out robbed in this trade. And I'm going to be giving some reasons as to why I believe so, and also just talking about why it's an amazing fit and amazing move for the New York Knicks. But before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Also, if you want to help me grow 3,000 subscribers. Also, drop a comment on this video as I do respond to all of my comments, and play that intro. The first reason I think the Atlanta Hawks got absolutely robbed in this move is due to the fact that I'm one of the people that believe Cam Reddish is a guy with plenty of skill to just be a great player in the league. As throughout his career, I'm not gonna lie, he's been an inconsistent player. Some days he looks like a great star, sometimes he looks like he shouldn't be in the NBA. But he has shown too much signs as a player that he could potentially be a good player someday that I simply don't believe you can ignore, especially this early into his career. Also, when you realize this guy is only like 22 years old with many years and a lot of time to improve his game. No way Atlanta thinks they should have gave up on him this easily. When you talk about Reddish's actual game, he's a guy who has a very good handle for his size. He has very good size at the forward position. He's 6'8", can handle the ball in all types of situations. He can even run pick and rolls. He can beat guys off the dribble. He's a guy who can do moves like step backs and create his own shots, attack the basket. He's not the most efficient player and he's not consistent at making his shots, but he has shown the ability to do the moves. He's also very athletic. He probably is one of the most athletic players in the league. Has a really fast first step, has a crazy high vertical that he uses to finish at the rim sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, this guy just seems like he has all the moves to go where he wants to go. Like, he could do all the moves to get to the basket. When it comes to actually finishing the play, he's gonna miss. He could do the nicest move to do a crazy step back and create a decent look for himself, but he's probably gonna miss the shot. And although that's not the greatest thing in the world, but when you realize this guy is 22 and he already has all those moves down packed, as his career goes on, you're gonna learn that he will eventually learn how to finish those moves. He's gonna improve his finishing, gonna improve his shooting, then he's gonna turn into a really nice player. He's already a pretty good shooter. He's shooting 38% from 3. To be honest, I think if Cam Reddish puts all of his skills together, he could be a guy like Paul George or something. Obviously, I don't want to say he's the next Paul George because that's way too big of an expectation to put on him, and I don't know if he could be a top 10 player in the league, but I think he plays similar to Paul George. I don't know if he'll ever be as good as Paul George. We'll have to see, but I definitely think in the right situation with his skill set, he can be an all-star level player. And I just think it was way too early for the Hawks to give up on a guy like that, especially just for a first-round pick. But on the other end of the spectrum, this is great for the Knicks as they're getting a guy with this type of skill set. The second reason I think the Atlanta Hawks got absolutely robbed in this trade is due to the fact that in games, Cam Reddish hasn't even been that terrible of a player. He's shown that in some games he could be a great player, and in other days he hasn't been great, as I said. But throughout Cam Reddish's first 3 seasons, he's actually looked somewhat decent. He's had some decent games. This past season, he was actually looking like a really solid role player for the Hawks as a guy who could just come off the bench and score, occasionally come in and run the offense. Remember at the beginning of the season, a lot of people were saying that he could win the 6th Man of the Year, but then his minutes started to decline a little bit. But he still played pretty well overall, was having the best season of his career and showed improvements in his efficiency, as maybe his points, rebounds, and assists didn't go up crazy, but his efficiency really went up this season because he was averaging 12 points, which was a career high, while shooting 37% from 3 on 5 attempts. And he did this in less than 25 minutes a game, which was the least amount of minutes in his career. If he was playing the normal minutes he had, I think he could be a guy averaging 14 to 15 points while being a good shooter and a solid defender. and if his minutes weren't all over the place, he probably would have adjusted better to his role on the team. Honestly, I don't feel like the Hawks managed him perfectly. I'm not going to say they did a terrible job, because there's definitely worse ways they could have handled the situation, like not playing him at all, but they definitely did far from the best. And I think a big reason we've seen him be so inconsistent is because he would some days get like 30 minutes, and then the next day he had like 10 minutes. It's really hard to play and be consistent when you don't know how much minutes you're going to get. But I don't want to just blame Atlanta. He has to just be more consistent as a player, and that's definitely his biggest weakness right now. But I remember we even saw him in the playoffs. He returned from injury and was playing against Milwaukee. Atlanta was dealing with some injuries. They needed a guy to go off and step up for them, and Cam Reddish was the guy to do that. I remember he had like a 20-point game, and overall in the 4 games he played in that series, he averaged 13 points, was shooting a staggering 64% from 3, and he was doing this in only 23 minutes. And that shows when Cam Reddish is on, he is really on. And if he could figure out a way to be like always on, he could be a problem. But to talk about the Knicks side of this move, obviously this is a pretty good trade for them in my opinion. I think Knicks fans should be really happy and excited, because they gave up a first-round pick for a guy who I think can be a really good player and a guy who has a lot of potential. And it kind of is a risk because it is a first-round pick, but I think it's a risk you have to take because Cam Reddish has a lot of potential. I think he has just as much potential as anyone else on this team. That includes RJ Barrett. I think he could be just as good as RJ Barrett. I'm not saying he's going to be better than RJ Barrett, or he is better than RJ Barrett. I'm just saying he can be. He's also a guy who fits the position that they need, because he can literally play shooting guard or small forward. And the Knicks don't have an amazing 2 or 3. Like, they have RJ Barrett and Evan Fournier, but I think as time goes on, Cam Reddish could prove to be better than Fournier, because Cam Reddish is a way better defender than him. But when it comes to this season, Reddish could just play that 6-man type of role until Derrick Rose comes back. And I actually think he could do it at a really good level if you just give him consistent minutes. I hope New York could give him consistent 20 to 25 minutes a game and just really like consider him just really consider him a part of their future, which I think they will do, because they wouldn't have traded a first-round pick for him. But I'm not going to lie, giving up that first-round pick is kind of a risk. I really hope Cam Reddish turns out well for them, because right now New York's not even in the play-in tournament right now. So who knows if they're in the position to like be trading away future first-round picks. But I actually think Cam Reddish isn't just a guy who you like look at as a guy with a lot of potential. He's a guy who can help you right now on the basketball court. So maybe he's the spark that this team needs. Maybe he's going to go off and help lead them to the playoffs, because Julius Randle simply isn't getting it done right now. But I think this was still a really good trade for the Knicks. I think in the future, people will look back at this trade and just absolutely criticize Atlanta for it and absolutely praise New York for making it. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Let me know whether or not you think this was a good or bad trade. Drop a like on this video to help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Also, if you want to know my goal of 3,000 subscribers. Also, drop a comment on this video as I do this.